This is a mistake that came up. It's worth looking at. It's the difference between because and because of. Okay, if you say because new buildings need to be built, that's fine. But a lot of people say because of, and there's a lot of confusion between because and because of. So because new buildings need to be built, that is the equivalent of because of new buildings needing to be built. Okay, now why do we do that? That's the same as...
Sorry, Jan.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share your screen?
Oh, yes, that's a good idea.
Thanks.
Oops. Okay. So here, we've got because new buildings need to be built is equivalent to because of new buildings needing to be built. Now, why is it needing to be built? Because it's because of new buildings that need to be built. So participial phrase. Today we're going to look at a bunch of participial phrases. They come up a lot in the model that we're going to look at today. I'm just going to open it up on a second screen so that I have it there. Okay. I don't have it. Nice. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this particular point?
Yeah, I had the same question with because. When to use because?
Instead of because of?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think it's good that you came out with this issue.
Okay, so based on those examples, what word usually follows just because? Nothing else.
Because of something.
Well, that's because of. What about only because?
Only take off because of.
Yeah, but if we just have because, what word usually comes after because?
Sentence, subject, verb, and
exactly.
Sentence.
So you can think of it as an independent clause. Okay.
Okay.
Like if you say because
the pizza is hot.
Yes, exactly. I love pizza because it's because the pizza is hot. Be careful, right? Be careful or you will burn your tongue because the pizza is hot. So we've got the pizza is hot is an independent clause, right?
Yes.
That can be a sentence completely fine by itself. You just put because in front of it.
Or can we say because of the pizza getting hot?
We'll get to that in just a second, kind of. Because of the pizza getting hot, it's not quite the same. You've added the meaning is a bit different. You're talking about the process before the pizza is hot, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're going to use because, this is the simpler option. It's just an independent clause after. You can put it in front of any kind of independent clause. This class is hard. Because this class is hard, comma, I have to study extra, I have to study a long time every day. Now, because of, what comes after because of? Let's make a couple sample sentences.
Maybe dependent clause. Because of.
Let's say because it's cold. I'm going to do pairs. Because it's cold, we're going to stay inside. Because of, what would be the equivalent of it's cold?
Verb?
Don't change the meaning. Just
Okay.
instead of because it's cold, we're going to start with because of.
Because of cold.
Because of the cold. Because of the cold, or you can say because of the cold weather. We're staying home.
Because of the cold, because it's cold.
Okay, let's say okay, why don't you come up with a different example? Because the pizza is hot.
Because of hot pizza.
Because-
Of the hot pizza. Of the hot pizza.
Because of the pizza.
Because of the hot pizza.
Let's say
Of the hot.
it's going to be kind of awkward because nobody will say anything but because the pizza is hot. This came up in a different context.
Because of pizza being hot.
Yes, that's it. That's what it has to be. Okay, another example. Let's just come up with a bunch of these.
Because of the weather.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Sorry.
Hey, just the weather
Hi, Olga.
is terrible. Okay, because the weather is terrible, because of the weather. You know what this is short for? This is the way to think of it. Because of the weather that is terrible. Do you remember our rules for transforming relative clauses to participial phrases? Some of you might remember, but let's go over it. Does everyone know what a relative clause is?
Participle.
Same old example. We saw a deer that were walking through the woods. Okay, this is the relative clause. That we're walking through the woods. What were the rules for changing a relative clause to a participial phrase? Delete the relative pronoun. What else do we have to delete?
Excellent.
Auxiliary verbs. And the third step, change the verb to a
Participle.
participle, either active or passive. Okay, so in this case, we saw a deer that were walking through the woods. Step one, delete the relative pronoun. That's this one. Bye-bye. Okay. Step two, delete the auxiliary. Bye-bye. We saw a deer walking through the woods. This is already the participle. Okay.
ing.
The most common one is just the verb with ing. No helper, no nothing in front of it. We saw a deer walking through the woods. Because of the weather that is terrible, you can think of it this way. Because of the weather, we get rid of this. We don't have any auxiliary. This is our only verb. So we have to change is to the participle. What is the active participle of is?
Be.
Be is a form of to be, but what is the active participle of be?
Been.
Being.
Mhm. Because of the weather being terrible. Mhm.
This one here, what we essentially did, because of the pizza that is hot, because of the pizza being hot.
Mhm.
Why don't we do some more examples? Let's do some more pairs with because and because of. Okay, just call them out if you've got another example. Start with because.
Okay. Because I fell down the stairs.
Because I fell down. Okay. Okay, because of
Because of falling down the
that's it.
stairs. Yeah.
Okay, another one.
Because of the price
Ian, what
increase.
about I? Because of falling down the stairs. What about I? Because I fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You can't. Okay, I'm so glad you said that. Because of my falling. Because of falling down the stairs, I da 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 da. Let's save that for a bit.
Okay.
Let's save that for a bit in case there's a person here. Because let's say because my cousin fell, not cousin, because my cousin fell down the stairs. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. Because of
Because of
Falling down the stairs. Falling down the stairs.
all right, another one.
Because it's snowing, I couldn't go out for the walk.
Because it's snowing, okay. That just becomes because. It's not going to work with some of them, this pattern. With some of them, if it's very simple, like because it's cold, becomes because of the cold. Because it's snowing becomes
Because of snow.
or because of the snow, okay? How about another one that's a little bit more complex? Just call it out if you've got a suggestion.
More complex.
Uh,
And always started with because.
Yeah, because it's snowing, very simple. Let's do something a little bit more complex. Like, this is the kind of examples that you guys are writing naturally. So this is a fairly complex idea. You're not generally writing simple things like this.
Mhm.
Let's say because new houses need to be built. Let's say we're talking about urban sprawl. Okay, that becomes because of
The new houses being built.
you've
No.
you've deleted an idea. Let's do an intermediate stage. Because of new houses that need to be built.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's already a relative clause.
Okay, so because of new houses that need to be built, so we follow our rules here. We follow our transformation rules for the relative to participial phrase transformation. So you've got that need to be built. How do you transform that to a participial phrase?
Delete the relative pronoun.
Yep. We don't have any auxiliaries because it's just present simple. So you just change the verb. Like, all of these are optional. Like, if you don't have an auxiliary, then don't worry about step 2. Just change the verb to a participle. So the active participle is by far the most common one. The active participle is just an ing word. Ing words, if they are verbs, they always have auxiliaries. If you ever see an ing word, like in well-written English, that does not have a helper verb, that does not have an auxiliary verb in front of it, it's not a verb. It's not a verb if there's no helper in front of it. It's either a noun, which we call a gerund, or it's a participle, and a participle is a kind of adjective. Okay, but it ain't a verb. So because of new houses that need to be built. So as Kelly said, we get rid of the
Relative pronoun.
relative pronoun. We don't have an auxiliary to get rid of. So we just transform the verb into the participle. If the verb is in active voice, it becomes the active participle. If the verb is in passive voice, it becomes the passive participle. Does anyone have any questions about what I mean by active voice and passive voice? Okay.
Passive voice.
The bakers bake the bread at 5 a.m. is active voice. The bread is baked at 5 a.m. is passive voice. Let me just add that here. So we're talking about verbs here. Okay. You're just putting the object at the beginning. Right, but if you want to do that, then you have to change the form of the verb to what's called passive voice. This is not past tense. This is still present simple passive voice. So you have to be crystal clear that there's two completely different things that we're talking about here. There's tense, which is about time, and there's voice, which is about whether you're starting with the subject or the object.
Jan, in passive voice, can we add by the bakers?
You can.
Okay, but That is not necessary.
No, it's too
Don't.
obvious. We often use passive voice when the subject is really weak. Like in this case, it's too obvious to say the bakers baked the bread. This is like baby English, right?
Okay.
Whenever the subject is too obvious or your subject is like people, right? People prefer blah, 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 blah. Well, we're not talking about cats and dogs. So this restaurant is preferred, right, compared to that one. That's an option for you. That's just an option for you, okay?
Okay.
So if it's an active voice verb, it just becomes the active participle, which is just the ing. If it's a passive voice verb, you just use the third form of the verb. So it'd be like give, gave, given. Given would be the passive participle. Giving would be the active. Okay, so we saw deer walking through the woods. So that's our transformation pattern. So we've got because new houses need to be built. We decided to use because of new houses.
Needed to be built.
Yes, because of new houses needing to be built.
Participle. Needing to be built.
And then you give your independent clause.
So this is when you start a sentence with because. But what about when you start a sentence with independent clause and then you
Okay, sorry. It doesn't matter if this is at the if the independent clause comes first, second, or if this goes in the middle, at the end, at the beginning, it's all the same.
Okay, I got it.
Let's do a couple more examples. Come up with like a more complex one, kind of like this. You can use active voice. Someone else should try passive voice, so we have a nice variety.
Because of fossil fuel, because of the use of fossil fuel, air pollution increased.
Because of, okay, because what would be the simpler version? Because fossil fuel is used in cars. We have a lot of pollution, okay? Because of fossil fuel is used in cars, how would you change this to the because of form? There's two ways to do this. Here's the key. Because of is generally followed by what? Because he's injured, he's not playing tonight. So they often say this about like team players. Because of,
Subject.
Because he is injured, or we can say because of
Him being injured.
Yeah, but most people won't say that. They'll use a much simpler construction. Why isn't he playing? Well, because he's injured. Why isn't he playing? Because of
Injury.
Because of his injury.
Okay, because of
So if you can, see if there's a simple way to do it. Just a simple noun phrase. No verbs, no nothing. Okay, because fossil fuel is used in cars. Can we change this to just a noun?
Using cars.
Fossil fuel use in cars is a big noun. This is also a noun, right? You can, if it's a verb, you pronounce it use. If it's a noun, it's pronounced use because of fossil fuel use in cars. What's another way we could do it? I'm just going to do it like this. Because of fossil fuel. Now this is we can think of it as our relative clause participial phrase transformation. What would the relative clause look like here?
That is used in car.
And that becomes because of
Fossil fuel being used.
Yeah.
In cars.
There's your relative clause.
Mhm.
There's the participial phrase. Now, native speakers don't think like this at all. Okay, it's just an ingrained pattern. They don't analyze it. They don't think of it as, okay, this is a relative clause. I'm changing it into a participial phrase.
They will probably say because he's injured instead of because of his injury.
Mm-hmm. What was the first part you said, though?
Yeah, the sentence below, because of his injured, he properly will say because of his injured, not because of his injury. It's true. Native doesn't say because of his injury.
Yeah, they do. He's not playing because of his injury. His ankle's messed up. He's not playing because he's injured. People will say both of these very often.
Okay.
What they won't very often say because of him being injured, because of his being injured. Both of those are correct, but few people will say them just because there's a much shorter version.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do a couple more. Because
of being late.
Okay, good. So because he was late becomes because of. Okay, so is there a relative clause intermediate step here? Because of his being late.
Mm-hmm.
Because of
being late. Because of being late.
Mm-hmm. So he was late becomes being late. That's also a participial phrase transformation from. So this could be an independent clause.
You can also say because he's been late, right?
Oh, say that again slowly.
Because he's being late.
Because he's being late.
Because he's being late.
No.
No.
I'm not sure why you would need that. This would be because he. Oh, let's say he is late becomes being late.
Being, yeah.
See, get rid of the subject.
Yeah.
Is becomes being.
Being.
And the rest stays. The rest stays the same. Any other options here? Any other examples that anyone wants to do?
Jan, in this sentence, he is late. You said we can write another way is being late. No need to mention the subject here. Being late by whom? Like,
yeah.
Or it is obvious that.
due to being late, due to being late, yeah, there's no need to mention it because you're going to mention the subject in the independent clause anyway.
Okay. Okay.
Because of being late, or because of constantly being late, he was fired. Because of being late all the time, he was fired. Because he has a lot. I'm trying to think of something more complex.
Because new technology. Because
Okay, because new technology.
because new technology is allowing robots to perform human jobs.
Okay, good, because new technology is allowing robots to perform human jobs. Let's say manual labor jobs or
People job.
okay, people's jobs. Okay, what do you think, Allah?
Because of new technology. Because of new technology. Robots being allowed.
Okay, just a sec. If I do this, what's missing here?
That.
Thank you. Does that help at all, Allah?
So because of a new technology.
You're doing this transformation. It's these three steps.
Okay, so we remove the relative clause.
The relative pronoun, not the relative clause.
Oh, whatever that. And we change is into
Change or remove. Is the
remove.
verb? Yeah, it's the auxiliary in this case. Sometimes is the verb, sometimes is the auxiliary. You have to be clear on which one it is.
Yeah, remove. Then allow. So because of a new technology, allowing robots to perform people's job.
That's it.
Yeah.
What about this one?
Because of having working experience? No, because of having experience.
Don't remove any ideas.
Or because of having a lot of experience with kids.
Yep.
Comma.
Good. Because he has, because of having.
Having. Participle phrase.
It's a very specific example, but okay. Because he has been working in a mine for a long time.
Because of being working. No, because of.
Being working, no.
Because of.
Don't mix up auxiliaries and main verbs. When is the only verb, or when it's a passive situation.
Mhm.
So is used becomes being used. This is kind of curious.
Okay.
Okay. But
Mm.
but here in this particular case, he has been working. What's the main verb?
Working.
Working. And how many auxiliaries do we have?
Okay. Being working.
Has been. So you've got two auxiliaries and they both have to go.
Because he worked.
Worked.
Because of
his work. Because of working. Why?
same as the other ones. Do we want to make more examples, or are you okay? Still kind of confused? What would you like to do?
A little bit more sample, please.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have more examples, starting with because?
Because.
Because she was chosen for the team, she's super happy.
Mr. Yan, I have a question.
So, okay.
For example, we are trying to find out because of, but it can be any word with of plus ing.
What else are you thinking?
For example, I'm afraid of being overwhelmed during my work days.
That's a complicated question, and I'm not sure how to connect it to what we're doing right now. That's a very interesting example. I'm afraid of what, right? And you said being overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was confused. Do I'm right or
yeah, it's correct.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
absolutely correct. I'm afraid of being given this assignment. Right, let's say your boss is handing out assignments and one of them is really terrible. So this is I'm afraid of to do it in active voice of my boss giving. That's a separate kind of issue, but the form is going to be the same. Let's make one using because that has something very similar. because she was overwhelmed, she panicked. That's what you said, because of being overwhelmed. But yours is not quite exactly the same, because you're saying she is afraid of. That's just followed by what? So if it's a complicated idea, it still needs to be some kind of nominative form, some kind of noun form. The participial phrase and the gerund, they're the same. Just their function in the sentence is different. So it's going to look the same. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it is actually. Sometimes I'm afraid to implement my ideas through the grammar, right? Because I'm thinking that I'm making mistakes,
So post your questions in the Q&A forum.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, thank you for your answer. Actually, it helps.
Are there any other words ending with of where we could test this?
Because I'm pissed off.
That's
Yeah.
OFF.
Because of being pissed off.
Pissed off is OFF, not OF.
But can we say because of being...
It's pissed off. I'm pissed off at my husband.
Not far from the reality. But yes, yeah, that's good.
Is there another word that ends with of, like a phrasal verb? I'm terrified of, that's the same thing.
Oh. I don't come with any sample. Okay. Off.
This just popped into my head. I don't know why, but I'm going to write it down. On top of. On top of is another expression that means someone is this or something is this, but it's also this. She's a writer, she's a musician. So we can do on top of.
Being a chef.
Being a writer.
Or a writer, yeah, she's a musician.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
And before and because she was chosen for the team is because of chosen?
Because she was chosen, because of being chosen.
Chosen for the team, right? Oh, really?
Because of being chosen.
In that case, change the verb was.
Oh, I've got a good one now.
So just to answer Ivan's question, was is the verb to be. Right. So, okay. So this gets a tiny bit messy here, is that when we have passive verbs, this is passive, right? I mean, she was chosen by the coach for the team. Right. We don't, and Swasti, what you were asking about, we're not saying by the coach, because that's baby English, because it's obviously it's the coach that makes decisions, right?
Okay.
Because she was chosen for the team. So the auxiliary here, this completely changes the rule. We treat this, we don't change this, but this has to be transformed into being. And if it's will be chosen, was chosen, is chosen, it doesn't matter. They all become being.
Okay. But only with was and were.
Sorry, it's very hard to hear you. It's very quiet.
Is this only with was and were when you change for being? Because if you have had or have.
Yes, but keep in mind, every passive voice verb is going to have the same auxiliary. Because I was overwhelmed, because she was overwhelmed, because they were overwhelmed, all of them are going to be this. Every single passive voice verb has to be as the auxiliary. Okay. This is just another random one I came up with. If you've got a different one, then let's hear it. But how about this? Because it's hard to implement, we won't use it. What does implement mean, by the way?
To put into action.
Yes. Okay, Swasti, because?
Okay, because it's hard to implement. Because of it being hard.
You can do that.
Because of it being hard to implement.
Oh, because of it?
You can do that.
And comma, we won't use it.
Yeah.
Because of it.
That's an independent sentence. We won't use it, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's the independent clause.
Okay.
Because of the pandemic, we are locked down.
Because of the pandemic. Yes, that's correct. That's a simple form, right? Because of the weather, because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, because the contractor was late.
Because of the contractor being late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the announcement came late, we didn't hear about the free pizza. Okay. Because of
the announced being late.
the verb is came.
Because of the nouns. Well, we changed the verb came.
Right.
Because we said the auxiliary verb.
There's no auxiliary here.
No. But we can change the verb to participle.
Yeah, so it should be.
Because of the announs coming late.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I will create an exercise for you tomorrow for this grammar point. We haven't looked at this one in detail before, but it comes up a lot. And people are kind of inconsistent in making mistakes. Sometimes they do it perfectly, sometimes it's a mess, it's really inconsistent. which one's easier? If in doubt, what should you do?
Leave it out.
Right. So what's the easier form? Because or because of?
Because.
Yeah, because is way simpler. You're just putting an independent clause, completely normal grammar, like a simple sentence right after because. Super simple, there's no thinking involved. All right, this is not a creative writing class, it's trying to pass IELTS class. So don't take chances, use the form that you're confident of. That being said, you're welcome to try, see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. But on the actual exam, you have to ask your ears if your ears are okay with what you've written. You have to read it slowly, read it out loud, ask your ears.